Hello you, welcome to Geekism. We're back in Pinewood Hills. It is Friday, and I don't like to say that Friday's Pinewood Hills Day because, you know, anything could happen, but at the moment, Friday is Pinewood Hills Day, so here we are. Unfortunately, after a couple of episodes where we get quite a bit done, there isn't that much getting done in this episode, unfortunately. We had a family bereavement, so at the start of the week I was down visiting folks out of town for that. Thank you very much for all the messages of support on Twitter and everything. It was good, it was a nice funeral, and we're all back to normal now and in the game. Unfortunately, it does mean that I didn't get as much time in the game this week as I would like to have got. So, and also, we're kind of starting to wrap up the first area now. I know a lot of people keep asking for downloads in the Steam Workshop. It is going to be put up there, but I really want to sort of finish the area before it goes up, okay? So, we're going to be finishing each zone based around the decade that it was originally opened. Okay, so this area will have originally been opened in the 40s. When that area gets capped off, then we'll release it as sort of stage 1 on the workshop for you to all have a play with and have a good look around if you want to. So that's the idea, and we kind of just need to fill up the right hand side as you're walking through the entrance. At the moment, there's the toilets over there and the chairplane and the car park and things like that. So we need to tighten up that area a little bit, and then we're kind of done really. So probably next episode will be finishing off stage 1 episode, and then it'll get released, I think, before Christmas. Obviously, we'll do a Christmas episode as well, where we decorate the place for Christmas, and that'll be that. So what we're doing today, basically, we're getting some backstage stuff done, and it's more interesting than it sounds. I know a lot of people get maybe a little fed up with backstage sometimes, but I actually really enjoy building this stuff. I think it really sort of fills out a park as well and makes the park a lot more sort of believable. I'd love some more backstage props. I mean, there's some random stuff getting put out here. I don't know why the back of the Midway games need oil barrels, but why the hell not? I don't know. The prize is you can win a barrel of oil. Suggestions on a postcard of what can go in those sort of spaces would be great. A lot of the stuff we're reusing from other areas, like our keypad here, that I have a real trouble putting in for some reason. I don't realise that some of them are missing. So little things like this, I really do think that gives the park a level of believability, a level of character that you're just not going to get without doing this sort of stuff. So I'm really happy to be doing it. And like I say, it's quite fun to try and give yourself these sort of challenges to solve yourself. One of them, for instance, is what I end up doing over here, and somewhere else in the building later on as well, which is a smokers area. So somebody mentioned smoking a couple of times now on the channel, on the Pinewood Hills, saying that originally 40s you would have been able to smoke everywhere. As the years have gone on, obviously the park now most likely is a non-smoking area, which yes, of course it would be, but there would still be smoking areas for staff and maybe even smoking areas. I know Alton Towers still has designated smoking areas that are just sort of areas of outside that just have a couple of signs up saying smoking areas. Don't think I'm going to do that in the actual park, but definitely behind the scenes for staff areas you would definitely have some smoking areas. So there's one, and like I say, we're going to do another one a little bit later on as well. Next thing we're going to work on is some car parking spaces. And if you follow me on Twitter, if you don't, why not? I'm at John D. Sparrow. We have a lot of fun over there. But if you're following me on Twitter, you may have noticed the other day that I was asking for suggestions for vehicles from the workshop to use in the park. I don't have either the time nor inclination, if I'm completely honest, with building a vehicle set for this. I know that I've spoke about this before on the channel about using other people's stuff in Pinewood Hills, and pretty much all of you are more than okay with it. And I always really live by the rule of why have a dog or bark yourself. If there's something out there already that's fantastically well done, there's no real point in me kind of reinventing the wheel. So what we're going to do is go on the workshop and have a look at what we've got. Basically look at some of the options. There really is some fantastic stuff over there from people you'll heard of, people you won't have heard of, and everything I use here, I'm going to put a link in the description. So, but we're not going to get onto that just yet. First of all, we're going to start working on this backstage area here. Again, a lot of copy and paste. The stuff's done. It would look the same. They would reuse designs. So here we've got a little sort of backstage area, nothing crazy. It's literally a little booth that'll have a little dude sitting in there to let people in and out on a morning. That's really sort of the sort of level of security you would have. There wouldn't be any crazy sort of barriers or anything. It would just be a little guy, little Jeff, stood there with a cup of tea in the morning, letting people in. We're going to carry on the fence down here. Not quite sure what we're going to do at the end of this road yet. This wooden fence I'm placing here actually marks the end of the park. Okay, so everything to the other side of this fence, technically it's not part of a theme park. All right, so this road here is actually going to be a municipal road, I guess is the word. You know, people can come and use this road. It's going to be tended for by the theme park. You know, a lot of theme parks, from what I can tell, they have deals with the councils, with the local sort of government that you know, they look after the roads nearby and things like that. So that road there and the building we're going to be doing, the main sort of building of this episode, is not going to be in a theme park. And I really wanted to point that out because the building I've done, it's a slightly larger scale from a lot of the stuff we built in the park. We don't use anything like forced perspective or anything like that, and quite frankly it looks kind of boring, okay, but it's purposefully meant to be boring, and you'll see why in a little while. Here I really wanted to, for quite a while now, I've wanted to get a roundabout into the game somewhere. This is a British park. You know, us Brits, we love our roundabouts, we love our traffic islands or traffic circles, whatever you want to call them, from wherever you're from. I really wanted to get a roundabout in there, so I've took a fountain piece, put some greenery in there, and then I'm going to recopy over some of the arrows from another area of the park in a little moment and do that. So we've just got a little bit of a turning circle. Basically, it's a way of turning around and getting back out the car park if you need to. But really, I really wanted to get a roundabout in there. What can I say? I'm just not a particular fan of roundabouts. They're a very British thing, and it's the sort of thing that I feel like Pinewood Hills would have. Here we're using this coconut piece. I love this. I wish I remember who it was who first showed me. I first saw it on Mass Bandit's Conifer Slopes video, where he didn't really use it right. I then saw it afterwards. They mentioned it on RollerCoaster, and but neither of them came up with it. Did somebody on either Shy Guys or somewhere like that came up with it? Really great piece though, really well used. I'd love a smaller version of it that we could do some more minute details. But a little bit there, and then here we go. This is this next bit of footage now after I've been on Twitter, and everyone sort of points me in the right direction of some fantastic trucks. Those ones there are by RubleTrillions. Those ones there, these are fantastic. They're by MineralJunction. Then we have Uthris's complete set of cars and buses, and then finally we have that awesome London bus, this double-decker bus here by, I'm so sorry, I can't remember, GreyAndGrumpy, I believe it is, on Twitter. There will be a link in the description to all of these, by the way. Now, the problem with using a few various ones like this is the scale's a little off. As you can see here, Uthris's cars are fantastic. They're a little bit on the small side, actually, which isn't something you say very often in Planet Coaster. They are a little bit on the small side, especially compared to the scale I'm using. I made these car parking spaces using the Back to the Future car, which probably means I'm a little big rather than these being a little small. But we've put them in anyway. It just looks like we're being very, very generous with the car park spaces, which doesn't normally happen, but it's something we can deal with. Using a selection of them. These ones here by MineralJunction are absolutely stunning. Huge poly count because they're custom wheels, but they really do look great. So we use quite a lot of these. I've been talking to Mineral about making some more. I'm hoping he does, and obviously if he does, we'll throw them in, and if he wants, we might even get him on the video to have a little chat. Here, I'm trying to do something that I saw Uthris do, which was replace the wall with a billboard, so we can put the logo on the side of the car. I need to have another play with it. I think it can be done, but I didn't really want to do it on camera because I feel like it's going to take a bit of a session, that is, basically. So here we're just placing some regular ones in. They're really great. The attention to detail is fantastic on them. These London bus as well, I love. I mean, it kind of places the park as to somewhere, down south. We don't really have red double-deckers anywhere else in the country. But I just love it. I think it's great. The scale's a little off. It's probably a little big, but not outrageously large, so I feel like we can get away with it. And it also means I can get something into the park which I've wanted to do for ages, which is a bus stop. A very sort of classic, well, modern British bus stop is something I've been wanting to do for quite a while. So we'll get onto that in a little moment. So here it's basically just sort of snagging, sort of clearing up edges, dealing with little issues that we've got to get done. Things here like the pathing and like the curbing around, until we move on in a moment to our main part of the building this episode, which is a HR building, an employer building. don't know what you call it, yeah, HR and payroll, I would probably know it as, but you can call it what you like, basically. It's basically a big old office block that, the staff go to when their holiday's not been paid or whatever. Here, I get started on my bus stop. Really happy with how these turned out, actually. Only using a few pieces, pretty simple build, but it looks exactly like the one I was using as a reference image, so I'm really quite happy with how it turned out. I get in a bit of a mess here using 2 buildings. I eventually get rid of that and fix it. The other thing I'm going to use here is quite a few billboards. And I'm actually using them as billboards. These are going to be putting adverts on these eventually. Unfortunately, I ran out of time to actually get these larger ones here with the adverts on done. But I do get a few others done that you'll see when we move back into the game in a moment with the live section. So those ones there are going to be adverts. We might do some, sort of in-game themed adverts there. We could do like a Princess Amelie perfume or, something like that, or a new deal with Chief Beef. That a local mobile phone company is doing or something. I don't know. It depends how long I've got and whether or not I really feel like it's worth the time. These other billboards we're placing here are going to be for bus timetables. Okay. Last thing we need to do here is add a bench, an incredibly uncomfortable bench. I don't know why, but these things have to be uncomfortable. It's kind of the rule. So we have this big old slab of, I say metal, it's actually a wooden piece, but I think it actually looks more metallic, to be honest with you. So we have this big old slab of metal here. And I think the reason they tier them, I'll be honest with you, it's quite depressing. Excuse me. I think it's so that homeless people can't sleep on them. I genuinely think that's why they do it. I know it's quite an awful thing to be talking about in a video, but I think that's why they do it. So here, I got rid of that wall piece that was just being useless and changed it for another piece of that metal. And then we have 2 bus stops. Not going to be a huge, massive depot here. The only reason I'm doing 2 is so that we can just have a bit of variation in the billboards. And the idea is that one would go north, one would go south. I don't know, something like that. So here we go. You'll see the billboards for that later on in the live section. We're moving on now to the main part of the build, which is like I say, a HR building, HR and payroll. HR is human resources. The inspiration for this came from a lot of different places, to be honest with you. One, I just felt like it was something I wanted to do and something I hadn't really seen people do before. It was to build sort of like a very realistic office block. 2 was the announcement of the staff rooms, which we're not really using because I think I'd rather have the staff standing still, and it's kind of one or the other, to be honest with you. But the idea originally was, when I thought staff rooms were coming, I thought, well, we could build a HR building that people could walk into. That'd be quite neat. 3 was when I was last in Orlando. We went to SeaWorld. Across the road from SeaWorld, very much like I've done here, is SeaWorld's HR building, and it's quite a standard looking office building, but they've done a little bit of theming on the, just sort of paint job and stuff to kind of make it look a bit SeaWorldy. And you go past it on the bus on the way into the park, and I don't know, really, it just sort of stuck out in my memory. I just have a bit of an image of it in my head. I remember that there being a HR building opposite the park, and I thought, well, that'd be something cool to do in Planco. Like I say, something I've not seen before. So the style of architecture I'm going here for is quite sort of standard British office architecture of the 70s. Okay, so I'm placing this building as a 70s build. I know we're working on the 40s area of the park now, but like I say, I really want this sort of edge area with the car parks and that finished. So we're going a little bit away from the theme we've been working on lately. So yeah, I'm placing this building in 1975. Very sort of standard office block, red brick, nothing fancy at all. A little bit of foliage to kind of bring a little bit of colour to the building, but quite frankly, it's quite a boring build. It's the sort of building you'd walk past and wouldn't even acknowledge. Even if you did acknowledge it, you'd think, meh. No, that's really what I'm trying to build. I know that's strange to want to build that in a creative game. My possibilities are endless. I can build anything I like. The thing I want to build is a pretty meh office building, okay? But that just shows you how much this sort of realism bug has bitten me, I guess. Here, I wanted a little bit of a fancier entrance, sort of a built up, lots of light going through there into a foyer. We're not going to be doing an interior on this, by the way. I've left the door open just in case I ever do change my mind about staff rooms. I can place a staff building inside here, so staff will walk over to it. Name-wise, I've called it Clarence House. I got it in my head that I wanted it to be something house. A lot of these sort of office structures of the time were always named something house. Clarence House was the first word that popped into my head. I'm pretty sure it might even be a royal residency. Do you know what? I'm going to actually look it up on camera while that's being built, because not really much happens here. Or it's some sort of hospice or something. Let's have a look. Clarence House. It's where the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge live. Okay, so yeah, it is. I'm not a royalist at all, but I just got it in my head. It's situated on the Mall. Okay, so it's called Clarence House. Maybe suggestions for another name, something else, house. I don't know. I just like the idea of it being called house. Here at the back now, we're linking up the staff, small staff car park here. There probably will be, you know, the staff parking all over the backstage areas, but here's a staff parking for people who necessarily don't work in the theme park. Okay, so this is the people who work in the HR building. These are the guys who sit down at the office every day. The old dears who sit and print out pay slips and deal with holiday request forms and health and safety and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. Okay, this is the most boring building in the world, and I'm spending a whole episode building it. Another smoking area here. One thing I did on this one that I didn't do on the other one is actually put somewhere for cigarette butts. We have one of those in work, and I noticed it in work on the way home yesterday, and I was like, oh, I could put one. I haven't put one of those in Planco, so let's do that. People often ask me where my inspiration comes from. That's where it comes from, really. I constantly have a design head on me now. I constantly have a Planco head on me. No matter what I see, even subconsciously, I sit there thinking, would that be possible in Plancoaster? Could we do that in Plancoaster? Can that work in a theme park? So a lot of these little things, a lot of people always say that they struggle with the little touches. A lot of them comes from just seeing them in actual, real life and just trying to replicate them as best I can. A few bins. Would love some more backstagey items. I don't know what. Maybe there's some stuff we can make. But bicycle rack was one thing I thought of doing, actually. I don't think I did in this video. No, I didn't. But maybe, bicycle rack somewhere around the back there would be quite good. You could do that with icing pieces, I reckon. Here, I'm just copying the whole thing over so that we can do a second floor. And getting rid of all the flowers, because obviously the flowers will be maintained from the outside. Here, lifting all the windows up a little. We don't quite want the 2 4-meter floors. That was something I picked up from RubleTrillions' fantastic tutorial series. He said that really, a 4 and a 3 is kind of about right for an actual 2-story building. Obviously, in the park itself, it would be even less than that because we would go for a more of a forced perspective feel. But this is not a theme park building. This is an office building that is next to a theme park. Okay, so that's my sort of reasoning behind that, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. Here, a little bit of detail just around the bottom. The building looked a little bit sort of stuck down, plonked down, and I felt like it needed something just to sort of ground it a little. I don't know whether the buildings really have this kind of thing, but I just felt that it sort of grounded it a little, and obviously it helped cover up where the path joins it as well. Moving on, I put a billboard here originally. I was going to do a sign. I realised afterwards it's probably not the best place for it. I'm going to move it off camera, actually. For some reason, a little bit of the footage didn't save. I end up just making that into more of a plaque building. Here, what I'm doing here is building the ceiling, the roof even, excuse me. I'm actually using the spooky pieces. I wanted like a solid tile that wasn't the wood tile, because we use the wood tile quite a lot in the park. And this one, I think, with the colour toned down a little bit, it comes in at this like crazy purple. But I think a little bit with the colour toned down a bit, this one actually works quite well. And we're doing a small flat roof here, more out of necessity than anything else, to be honest with you. I thought it was easier to do that than try and line the roofs up. But again, it's not a million miles away from the sort of thing you would expect to see. And then we're capping it off with this pretty solid piece of cornice. Again, this piece is huge. There'd be very little possibility of me using this in the theme park as a cornice. So I thought, well, I might as well use it here where I can. It makes the building look a little grandiose, but I actually think it works out quite nicely. So I'm okay with it. Near enough finishing touches there then on the building. Last thing we do then is sort of a bit of foliage around the exterior and a small fountain, because I feel like, in the 70s the park would have been doing pretty well. They'd have had the money to put a little fountain outside the HR building, make it look, because they've got to remember that even though it is an office building, this is used for maintenance and paperwork, guests are going to see it as they're driving past, so it's got to look nice. Okay, and it's going to be a little bit of a sort of showy piece as far as the corporate side of the park is concerned. Okay, so any executives or whatever, they're going to be coming into this building. They want it to look. They want it to look nice. It's very much based on some of the office buildings from my hometown. They would have these on industrial sites and things like that. So that's kind of where I'm going with the basis for them here. Looking at some of the options, didn't really want one of those statues, felt like they were a little bit too over the top, so we used one of these pieces that just has some nice water coming out of some taps, and placing it there, and then just kind of capping off the whole area now with some pathing, and like I say, some trees. We get some more pines in there, getting lots of pines in Pinewood Hills. Still haven't done many hills, but let me put it this way. A company wouldn't build a theme park on a hill. Okay, I know there are a few that exist, but for the most part, they will find a relatively flatter area of land that they can do some landscaping with. So there are going to be hills in the park, but they're not going to be massive hills. They're going to be hills that people can walk up and down. Okay, so we're going to get a bit of height variation there because, you know, places like Alton Towers has a lot of height variation, makes it look a bit more interesting and natural. But there ain't going to be mountains in this place that people can walk around, okay? The hills is taken more from the surrounding area. The name hills is taken more from the fact that it's within the hills, the foothills of wherever part of Britain we're meant to be. I don't know, the Peak District or somewhere, I don't know, with a red London bus. I don't know, I'm not too sure where we are. There we go, then a little bit of foliage here. It actually gets changed a little bit. For some reason, the sign I placed down at the moment, the footage didn't record, so I'll show you that in the live section, which we're going to cut to now. Right, not much to show you then. Just wanted to come and show you some of these some of these cars even close up. Like I said, these ones are Uthris's ones. None of them use any of the DLC, which I think is really, really neat. There's loads of different designs. I've placed a select few of them through the car park here. It's a quiet day in Pinewood Hills. And then we've got this awesome double-decker bus by, like I say, I think it's GreyAndGrumpy, I'm pretty sure his name is. The number one has now come to Pinewood Hills. Oh, we need to change that because the bus timetables I found in the number 5 and the number 6, and this one's parked outside the number 5. So this, you can now be the number 5. Oops, I need to do that while the thingy's on. Okay, there we go. You're now the number 5. Okay, good. For Pinewood Hills, a direct stop. There we go. And also, you need to come a little bit forward as well, so that people can actually get on you. Like I say, the scale is a little off on this. It's a little large, but I still think GreyAndGrumpy's done an awesome job with it. I might look at maybe sort of sinking some billboards into the side here so we can do a nice big long advert for Pinewood. I've placed one on the back. It's also used that idea I mentioned in my update video that you can use this canopy as a nice non-lit slightly smaller smaller billboard is what I wanted to say. And then finally, billboard over here. I've actually had a re-go at this one now. It's a bit darker, but I need to reload the game. Pinewood Amusements Limited. This is the umbrella company that looks after Pinewood Hills and probably other places to the UK as well. So they've taken a bit of the logo and made it a little bit more corporate. I'm going to leave you with some glamour shots. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, give us a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. Any thoughts, queries, or suggestions, you can pop them down in the comments. And if you fancy chat, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at John T. Sparrow. Until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.